The stars looked the same as always when Commander Tae-jin stared out from his ship's bridge. He had seen many star systems in his 20 years of service to the Valerian Empire. Each one had taught him the same lesson. The Empire was strong and everyone else was weak. "Sir, we have found something," said his lieutenant, pointing at the screen. "There are ships near that yellow star. They look different from anything we know." Tae-jin walked over to look at the readings. The ships were small and moved in strange patterns. Their technology seemed simple compared to the Empire's great warships, but something about them made him feel uneasy. "How many worlds do they control?" he asked. "Our scouts say they have settlements on 9 planets and many space stations. The main world is called Earth. It has billions of these creatures on it." Tae-jin nodded. This was how first contact always worked for the Empire. They would find a new species, study them for a few days, then take one of their smaller worlds to show them who was in charge. Most species would surrender after that. The smart ones would ask to join the Empire. The stupid ones would fight and lose quickly. "Send word to Admiral Wu Jin," Tae-jin ordered. "Tell him we have found a new species. They call themselves humans. Request permission to begin standard first contact procedures." The message would take 3 days to reach the Admiral, and 3 more days for his reply to come back. During that time, Tae-jin's ships would watch and learn. They would pick the best target for their demonstration attack. His science officer, a young Valerian named Su-jin, spent hours studying the human settlements. "Commander," she said on the second day, "these humans are strange. Their ships are not very advanced, but they move in perfect formation. Their colonies are built in ways that make no sense for trade, but would be very good for defense. All species try to defend themselves," Tae-jin said. "It never helps them against the Empire." "Yes, sir. But look at this." Su-jin showed him recordings of human ships. "When our scouts get close, the humans do not run away or attack. They just watch us, like they are learning." Tae-jin frowned. Most species either hid from Valerian scouts or tried to chase them away. These humans seemed curious instead of afraid. It was unusual, but not worrying. Curiosity would not save them from the Empire's weapons. On the 6th day, Admiral Wu Jin's reply arrived. The message was simple. Begin standard procedures. Take 1 small world to show them our strength. Avoid the main planet for now. Tae-jin gathered his officers to choose their target. The humans had many small colonies and space stations. Some were on planets, others were built in empty space around moons or asteroids. The biggest space station orbited Earth's moon. It was called Luna Station. Luna Station has about 50,000 humans, Su-jin reported. "It has some weapons, but nothing that can hurt our ships. It will be an easy victory." "Good," Tae-jin said. "We attack in 12 hours. Send the standard message first." The standard message was always the same. It told the new species that they had been chosen to join the Valerian Empire. They could surrender now and be treated well, or they could fight and be destroyed. Most chose to surrender. But when Tae-jin sent the message to Luna Station, the reply surprised him. "This is Administrator Nari of Luna Station," came the response. "We received your message. We do not wish to join your empire. We do not wish to fight you either. Please leave our space and do not return." Tae-jin had never heard such a reply before. The humans were not begging for mercy. They were not threatening him. They were simply saying no, as if they had a choice in the matter. "Send another message," he told his communications officer. "Tell them they do not understand. They will join the Empire or be destroyed. There is no third option." Nari's second reply was even stranger. "We understand perfectly," she said. "You believe you are stronger than us. You may be right. But strength and wisdom are not the same thing. This is your last chance to leave peacefully." Some of Tae-jin's officers laughed at this. A human administrator was giving the mighty Valerian Empire a last chance. It was ridiculous. "Begin the attack," Tae-jin ordered. The battle for Luna Station lasted 6 hours. It should have lasted 6 minutes. The humans had fewer ships and weaker weapons, but they fought like nothing Tae-jin had ever seen. They did not panic. They did not make desperate charges. Instead, they fought with cold, careful precision. Every human ship that died took careful aim before it was destroyed. Every defensive position held until the last possible moment, then fell back to prepared positions. The humans lost, but they made the Empire pay for every meter of space. What bothered Tae-jin most was how the humans acted during the battle. They were not trying to win. They were trying to learn. Every attack they made seemed designed to test Valerian weapons and tactics. Every retreat gave them a better view of how Empire ships moved and fought. When Luna Station finally fell, Administrator Nari sent one last message. Her voice was calm, almost sad. "You have made a grave mistake," she said. "We tried to talk. We wanted peace. Now you have shown us that you only understand violence. Very well. We will speak your language." The message ended and Luna Station went dark. Taejin stood on his bridge looking at the destroyed station. His ships had won easily, just as they always did. But something felt wrong. The humans had not fought like a species trying to save their home. They had fought like a species gathering information about an enemy. "Sir," Sujin said quietly, "I am reading strange signals from the human colonies. It looks like they are sending messages to all their worlds." "What kind of messages?" "I cannot decode them, but they are going everywhere at once. Every human settlement is receiving the same transmission." Taejin felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of service, he had never seen a species that could coordinate across such vast distances so quickly. Most civilizations took days or weeks to spread news between star systems. The humans had done it in hours. "Monitor those signals," he ordered, "and send a full report to Admiral Wu Jin. Tell him the demonstration attack succeeded, but the humans may be more dangerous than we thought." As his ships prepared to return to Valerian space, Taejin could not shake the feeling that something had gone very wrong. The Empire had won the battle, but the humans had acted like they were the ones in control. He did not know it yet, but Administrator Nari's final message had not been a threat. It had been a warning. The humans had tried diplomacy first, as they always did. Now they would try something else, something the Valerian Empire was not prepared for. Admiral Wu Jin read Commander Taejin's report 3 times before he understood what bothered him about it. The attack on Luna Station had gone exactly as planned. The humans had lost. The Empire had won, but something in the details made him uneasy. The humans coordinated their response across 9 star systems in less than 4 hours, he said to his aide. "How is that possible?" "Perhaps they have better communication technology than we thought, sir." Wu Jin shook his head. "No, our sensors show their technology is inferior to ours, but their coordination is perfect. Too perfect." 3 days later, the Empire's high command made their decision. If the humans wanted to resist, they would be crushed completely. A full battle fleet would attack the Sol system and end this quickly. "Send orders to Fleet Admiral Hyun Sik," the high command transmitted. "Take 40 warships to the human home system. Destroy their military and force their surrender. Make an example of them." But the humans were ready. When Fleet Admiral Hyun Sik arrived at the edge of Sol system with his 40 ships, he found the humans waiting for him. Not hiding, not running, but waiting in perfect formation near the planet Mars. The human fleet was smaller than his. They had maybe 25 ships and most looked like converted cargo vessels with weapons attached. Against 40 purpose-built Valerian warships, they should have been helpless. "This will be over quickly," Hyun Sik told his captains. "Standard attack formation. Show them the power of the Empire." But Admiral Hyun, the human fleet commander, had other plans. The human ships did not charge forward to meet the Valerian fleet. They did not try to defend Mars. Instead, they spread out in a wide pattern and began moving away from the planet. "They are running," one of Hyun Sik's captains reported. "Should we pursue?" "Of course. Do not let them escape." The Valerian fleet chased the humans deeper into the solar system. The human ships were fast, but not faster than Empire warships. Slowly, the gap between the fleets closed. But something strange happened as the chase continued. The human ships were not just running. They were leading the Valerian fleet through specific areas of space. Past certain asteroids, around particular moons, through regions where other human ships waited in hiding. Commander Sujin, now serving aboard Hyun Sik's flagship, noticed it first. "Sir, I think we are being led into a trap." "Impossible," Hyun Sik replied. "We have 40 ships. They have 25. Even if they try to ambush us, we still outnumber them. But sir, look at the pattern of their retreat. They are not running randomly. They are drawing us to specific locations." Before Hyun Sik could respond, the trap was sprung. Human ships appeared from behind asteroids where the Valerian sensors had not detected them. More ships rose from the surface of moons where they had been hidden. Mining charges on asteroids exploded in perfect timing, sending chunks of rock flying into the Valerian formation. But even this was not a normal space battle. The humans were not trying to destroy the Valerian fleet. They were trying to separate it. Admiral Hyon had studied Valerian tactics for months. He knew that Empire fleets were strongest when they fought together in close formation. So instead of attacking the fleet as a whole, the humans split it apart. Asteroid explosions forced some Valerian ships to change course. Hidden human vessels attacked the rear of the formation, making those ships turn to fight. Mining drones created clouds of metal fragments that blocked sensors and forced ships to spread out. Within an hour, the 40-ship Valerian fleet had been broken into 6 smaller groups, each fighting its own separate battle, and in each separate battle, the humans fought differently. Against the ships with the strongest weapons, human vessels used hit-and-run attacks, never staying in one place long enough to be destroyed. Against ships with heavy armor, they used swarms of small, fast attack craft that could slip past the big guns. Against ships with the best sensors, they used electronic warfare to blind and confuse them. How do they know our capabilities so well? Sujin asked in amazement. It is like they studied each of our ships individually. The truth was worse than she imagined. The humans had been studying them. Every sensor reading from the Luna Station battle had been analyzed. Every weapon firing pattern had been recorded. Every tactical decision had been examined. But the humans were not just studying the ships. They were studying the people who flew them. Dr. Minho, a human scientist working with the fleet, had spent weeks analyzing Valerian psychology and military doctrine. He had learned that Empire commanders were trained to be aggressive and confident. They expected their enemies to be afraid and disorganized. So the humans gave them exactly what they did not expect: calm, coordinated resistance that adapted to every Valerian move. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the human fleet had lost 12 ships. The Valerian fleet had lost 15 ships and had 7 more badly damaged. For the first time in Empire history, a smaller enemy force had defeated a larger Valerian fleet in open combat. But Admiral Hyon was not finished. As the surviving Valerian ships regrouped, they received a transmission from the human commander. Admiral Hyon sick, the message began. You fought well today. Your ships are powerful and your crews are brave. But you are fighting the wrong war. Hyun-sik was confused. What does he mean, the wrong war? The human message continued. You think this is about territory or resources or military strength. It is not. This is about ideas. You believe that the strong should rule the weak. We believe that all thinking beings should be free to choose their own path. Surrender now, Hyun-sik transmitted back, and the Empire will be merciful. Admiral Hyon's reply chilled every Valerian who heard it. We do not seek your mercy, Admiral. We seek your understanding. But if you will not learn through words, you will learn through experience. 3 days later, the Valerian fleet received reports that shocked them. Human ships had appeared in 6 different star systems simultaneously, not attacking Valerian colonies, but approaching them peacefully. The humans were broadcasting messages to every world they visited. Not threats, but questions. Why do you serve the Empire? The messages asked. What do they give you that you cannot provide for yourselves? Are you happier under their rule than you were before they came? Some worlds ignored the messages. Others reported them to Valerian authorities. But on a few worlds, people began to ask themselves those same questions. Commander Taijin, monitoring these reports from his ship, felt a growing sense of dread. They are not just fighting our military, he told Sujin. They are fighting our entire system. What do you mean, sir? Look at what they are doing. They defeat our fleet, but instead of pressing their advantage, they send ships to talk to our colonies. They are not trying to conquer territory. They are trying to conquer minds. Sujin studied the reports more carefully. Sir, there is something else. The human fleet that fought us here. It was not their only fleet. Intelligence reports suggest they have ships spread across dozens of star systems, all moving at the same time, all with the same mission. Taijin felt sick. They planned this, all of it. The Luna Station battle was not a defeat for them. It was reconnaissance. They let us attack so they could study us. But why would they sacrifice 50,000 of their own people just to learn about our tactics? Because, Taijin said slowly, they are not fighting to win battles. They are fighting to win the war, and they are willing to lose any number of battles to do it. As if to prove his point, another report arrived. Human ships had made contact with the Zelani species, longtime allies of the Empire. The humans were not threatening the Zelani. They were offering them something the Empire never had: a choice. Join us as equals, the human message to the Zilani read, or remain neutral. But know that you do not have to serve others to be safe. You can be strong on your own. For the first time in his career, Admiral Wu Jin began to wonder if the Empire had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not like other species the Empire had conquered. They did not fight like other species. They did not think like other species, and that made them far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. 6 months had passed since the first human victory at Mars, and Admiral Wu Jin could not sleep. Reports came to his desk every day that made less sense than the ones before. The Empire was still winning most battles, but somehow they felt like they were losing the war. "Show me the status report again," he told his aide. "Yes, sir. In the past 6 months, we have destroyed 47 human ships and captured 3 human colonies, but what?" "Sir, we have also lost contact with 18 colony worlds." "Not destroyed, just lost contact. They stopped responding to our messages and refused to send tribute, and 7 species that were our allies have declared neutrality." Wu Jin rubbed his temples. "How many humans are we fighting?" "That is the problem, sir. We do not know. Every time we defeat a human fleet, another one appears somewhere else. It is like they have ships everywhere." The truth was even more disturbing than Wu Jin realized. The humans did have ships everywhere, but they were not all warships. Many were disguised as traders, explorers, or refugees. They moved freely through Empire space because they looked harmless. On the planet Kethera, a human woman named Yoon Seo had been living for 4 months as a technology consultant. The local Valerian governor thought she was helping them improve their factories. But Yoon Seo had a different mission. Every day she talked with the Catharan workers about their lives. She asked simple questions. "Are you happy with your work? Do you have enough food? Can your children go to school?" The answers revealed something the Empire did not want its subjects to know. Life had been better before the Valerians came. Before the Empire, an old Catharan told her, "We grew enough food for everyone. Now we must send most of our harvest to Valerian worlds and our children go hungry. Why do you continue to do this?" Yunseo asked. "Because they have weapons and we do not. Because they say they will protect us from enemies." "What enemies? Were you at war before they came?" The old Catharan thought about this. "No. We had peace for 300 years before the Empire arrived. These conversations happened on dozens of worlds. Humans like Jinwu and Yonji spread across Empire space, not as soldiers but as teachers. They did not tell people to rebel. They just asked questions that helped people think. But the most dangerous human was not carrying weapons or asking questions. Dr. Minho had been captured during a raid on a human supply base. The Valerians thought they had won a great victory by capturing a human scientist. They were wrong. Commander Tai Jin was assigned to interrogate Minho. He expected to find a broken man, terrified of Valerian power. Instead, he found someone who seemed genuinely interested in learning about the Empire. "Your military tactics are very impressive," Minho told him during their first meeting. "May I ask how you coordinate attacks across such vast distances?" Tai Jin was confused. "You are my prisoner. I ask the questions, not you." "Of course," Minho replied calmly, "but I am curious about your methods. As a scientist, I find your organizational structure fascinating." Despite himself, Tai Jin found himself answering the humans' questions. Minho was easy to talk to, and he seemed to genuinely respect Valerian achievements. It felt good to explain how the Empire system worked to someone who appreciated its complexity. It took Tai Jin 3 weeks to realize what was happening. Minho was not being interrogated. He was doing the interrogating. Every question the human asked revealed something about how the Empire thought and operated. Every answer Tai Jin gave was carefully analyzed and remembered. Minho was mapping the Empire's weaknesses not through torture or threats but through simple conversation. "You have been studying us," Tai Jin said during their final meeting. "Yes," Minho admitted, "just as you studied us before you attacked Luna Station. The difference is we learn faster." "What do you mean?" "You attacked Luna Station to learn about human military capabilities, but we used that same attack to learn about Valerian psychology, tactics, and culture. While you gained tactical knowledge, we gained strategic understanding." Tai Jin felt sick. "You let us attack you so you could study us?" "We tried to avoid the attack through diplomacy. When that failed, we made sure the attack served our purposes as well as yours. We do not waste opportunities to learn, Commander." even painful ones. That same week, Admiral Wu Jin received the most disturbing report yet. President Sora of the human government had made a broadcast to the entire galaxy, not a threat or a demand for surrender, but an offer. To all thinking beings in the galaxy, the message began, we offer you a choice. You can continue to live under the rule of others, or you can join us in building something new, a community where every species is equal, where no one must bow to anyone else, where conflicts are resolved through discussion, not conquest. The message was broadcast in 47 different languages, including several that the Empire had tried to suppress. It reached every corner of Valerian space within hours. How did they get our communication codes? Wu Jin demanded. We do not know, sir. The message used official Empire channels, but it originated from outside our space. Could it be sabotage? Possible, sir. But there would have to be saboteurs on dozens of worlds simultaneously. The terrible truth was that there were saboteurs on dozens of worlds, but they were not destroying things. They were building them. Humans like Haiwan and Kyungmin were teaching Empire colonies how to be self-sufficient, how to grow their own food instead of importing it, how to generate their own power instead of relying on Empire infrastructure, how to communicate directly with each other instead of going through Valerian networks. The Empire had always controlled its subjects by making them dependent. The humans were teaching them to be independent. Commander Sujin discovered this during an inspection of the Raxan colony. Sir, she reported to Tae-jin, something is very wrong here. The colony is more prosperous than it has ever been, but they are sending less tribute to the Empire. Are they rebelling? No, sir. They claim they are still loyal, but they say they have less surplus to send because they are using more resources locally. What kind of resources? Food, mostly. And education. They have built schools for their children and hospitals for their sick. They say a human advisor helped them plan these improvements. Tae-jin felt his stomach drop. What kind of advice? Nothing military, sir. Just suggestions about agriculture and medicine and engineering. Simple things that made their lives better. But these simple improvements had a complex effect. When people had enough food and good schools and proper medical care, they started to think differently about their lives. They started to ask why they needed the Empire at all, and they started to answer that question themselves. The most frightening part for Valerian leaders was that the humans were not forcing these changes. They were not threatening anyone or promising protection. They were simply showing people what was possible. They are not fighting our military, Tae-jin told Admiral Wu Jin during a secure communication. They are fighting our entire civilization. Every victory we win against their ships means nothing if our own colonies stop believing in the Empire. What do you recommend? I do not know, sir. How do you fight an enemy that turns your own success against you? How do you defeat people who make their defeats serve their strategy? Admiral Wu Jin had no answer. In all his years of service, he had never encountered an enemy like this. The humans did not just fight wars. They fought the reasons for wars, and they were very, very good at it. On distant Earth, human leaders gathered to review their progress. The reports were encouraging. The Empire was still powerful, but its foundations were cracking. Dozens of worlds were questioning their loyalty. Several species were openly considering independence. How long before the Empire collapses completely? Asked General Young-sik. It will not collapse, President Sora replied. It will evolve. That is the point. We are not trying to destroy the Valerian Empire. We are trying to transform it into something better. And if they refuse to transform, then we will help them understand that they have no choice. Not through force, but through obsolescence. We will make their way of thinking irrelevant. The war was far from over, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. The humans had discovered something the Empire could not defend against: the power of a better idea. 2 years after the first attack on Luna Station, Admiral Wu Jin sat in his office staring at reports that told an impossible story. The Valerian Empire still existed on paper. Their fleet still patrolled space. Their government still issued orders. But somehow none of it mattered anymore. The war had not ended with a surrender or a peace treaty. It had simply stopped being relevant. Sir, his aide reported, the High Command is requesting your presence for an emergency meeting. What is the emergency now? The Zilani Confederation has officially withdrawn from the Empire. They are the 15th major ally to declare independence this month. Wu Jin closed his eyes. The Zilani had been loyal allies for over a century. If they were leaving, the Empire truly was finished. The emergency meeting was held in the same room where the decision to attack humanity had been made 2 years earlier. But the faces around the table told a different story now. Where once there had been confidence and arrogance, now there was confusion and fear. "Gentlemen," began High Admiral Daewon, "we must face the truth. The Empire as we know it is ending. The question is, what comes next? We still have the strongest military in the galaxy," protested Admiral Sung Ho. "We could force the colonies back into line." "With what resources?" Wu Jin asked quietly. "Half our colonies no longer send tribute. Our recruitment is down 70% because young Valerians are asking why they should fight for an empire that offers them nothing. And our remaining allies are more afraid of being associated with us than of standing against us." "Then what do you suggest?" Daewon asked. Before Wu Jin could answer, a new voice spoke from the room's communication system. "Perhaps I could offer some suggestions." Every Valerian in the room tensed. The voice was human, speaking perfect Valerian with a slight accent. Somehow a human had accessed their most secure communication channel. "I am Ambassador Dong Min of the Human Cooperative Council," the voice continued. "I apologize for interrupting your meeting, but I believe we have much to discuss." High Admiral Daewon found his voice first. "How dare you spy on us?" "This is an act of war. With respect, Admiral, there is no war between us anymore. There has not been a military engagement between human and Valerian forces in 8 months. Your fleet commanders have been avoiding contact with ours, and ours have been allowing them to do so." This was true, though no one had officially acknowledged it. The last few Valerian attacks had ended with human forces withdrawing rather than fighting back. Not because they were afraid, but because they no longer saw the point in violence. "What do you want?" Wu Jin asked. "To offer you the same thing we have offered everyone else, a choice. You can continue trying to maintain an empire that no longer serves anyone's interests, including your own, or you can help us build something better." "And what would that be?" "A galaxy where every world governs itself according to its own values and needs. Where species cooperate because it benefits them, not because they are forced to. Where conflicts are resolved through negotiation and compromise instead of conquest and submission." Admiral Sung Ho laughed bitterly. "You mean a galaxy where humans are in charge instead of Valerians?" "No," Dong Min replied patiently. "We mean a galaxy where no one is in charge of everyone else. We have no desire to rule over you or anyone else. Rule is what caused this conflict in the first place." "Impossible," Daewon declared. "Someone must be in charge. Without central authority, there would be chaos." "Would there? Your own colonies have been governing themselves for months now, and most are more peaceful and prosperous than they have ever been. The Zilani Confederation voted to become independent, and they are already negotiating trade agreements with 6 other species." "Where is the chaos?" The room fell silent. The truth was there had been less chaos since the Empire's authority had weakened, not more. "What exactly are you proposing?" Wu Jin asked. "That we end this conflict officially and begin building the future together. The Valerian people have much to offer the galaxy. Your technology, your organizational skills, your centuries of experience managing complex systems. But instead of using these gifts to control others, you could use them to help others." Over the next 3 hours, Ambassador Dong Min outlined a vision that stunned the Valerian leadership. Not a human empire replacing a Valerian one, but something entirely new. A galactic community where every species contributed its strengths and supported others' weaknesses. The Valerians would not be conquered or humiliated. They would be partners, helping to design and implement the systems that would allow thousands of worlds to cooperate voluntarily. "Why would you offer this to us?" Daewon asked suspiciously. "We have been your enemies." "Because," Dong Min explained, "we learned long ago that turning enemies into allies is more valuable than defeating them. A defeated enemy remains an enemy. An ally is a friend forever." 3 days later, Commander Tae-jin found himself working alongside Human Coordinator Ji-hoon to establish the new Cooperative Council. His job was to help design administrative systems that could coordinate between hundreds of different species and governments without controlling any of them. It was the most challenging work he had ever done, and also the most satisfying. "It is strange," he told Ji-hoon during a break. 2 years ago I was trying to conquer your people. Now I am working with you to build something neither of us could create alone." "That is the point," Ji-hoon replied. "Humans learned something from our own history. The best way to win a war is to make sure it is the last war that ever needs to be fought. How do you do that? By removing the reasons people fight wars in the first place. Fear, scarcity, the belief that one group must dominate others to be safe. When everyone has enough and no one is threatened, war becomes unnecessary. 6 months later, Admiral Wu Jin wrote in his personal journal, "Today marks the first anniversary of the Cooperative Council. 47 species have joined as full members, and dozens more are in various stages of association. Trade is flourishing, conflicts are being resolved peacefully, and most remarkably, no one is afraid anymore. We thought we had encountered another species to conquer. Instead, we encountered a species that conquers the very idea of conquest. They did not just defeat us, they evolved us, and somehow we are grateful. The humans were right about one thing: they do not fight wars. They end them, not through victory, but through transformation. They make war itself obsolete. I spent 40 years serving an empire built on the idea that the strong must rule the weak. Now I work for a council built on the idea that the strong should help the weak become strong. I have never been happier or more proud of my work. On Earth, Dr. Subin delivered the final report to the Human Assembly. The Galactic Cooperative Council now includes 83 member species and over 4,000 worlds. Conflicts between members are resolved through mediation and compromise. Resource disputes are addressed through exploration and development of new sources. Cultural differences are celebrated rather than suppressed. The galaxy is not perfect. There are still disagreements, still problems to solve, still work to be done, but for the first time in recorded history, there are no major wars anywhere in known space. We learned long ago that the only way to truly win a war is to ensure it is the last war that ever needs to be fought, not through dominance but through obsolescence, not by conquering our enemies but by helping them become our friends. The Empire finally discovered the truth. Humans do not fight wars to win them. We fight wars to end the need for wars forever. The transformation was complete. What had begun as a simple act of aggression against a seemingly primitive species had become the foundation for a new kind of civilization, one based not on power but on cooperation, not on fear but on hope. And in the end, everyone was better for it. The Valerian Empire was gone, but the Valerian people had found something better, a place in a galaxy where their talents were valued and their contributions welcomed, where they could be proud of what they built instead of ashamed of what they destroyed. Humanity had achieved their ultimate victory, a galaxy where victory itself was no longer necessary. The war was over. The peace had begun, and it would last because it served everyone's interests better than conflict ever could. In the end, that was the humans' greatest weapon, not the ability to fight better wars, but the wisdom to fight the last war. 1 year after the war began, the Valerian Empire was still the strongest military force in the galaxy. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, their armies larger than any human force. But none of that mattered anymore. General Young-Sik stood in the command center of the human flagship, watching displays that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Valerian military positions. Blue dots showed human forces, but the most important dots were green, worlds that had declared independence from the Empire. "Report," he said to his aide. 73 worlds have cut ties with the Empire in the past month, sir. Not through rebellion, but through simple declaration. They announced they no longer recognize Valerian authority. How did the Empire respond? They sent fleets to 3 of the worlds. But when they arrived, they found the planets defended by mixed fleets of humans and local forces working together. The Valerian commanders chose to withdraw rather than attack. Young-Sik nodded. This was exactly what the humans had planned. The Empire's strength had always come from fighting enemies one at a time. When they faced coalitions, they struggled, but the real victory was not military. It was psychological. Dr. Hyojin had spent months studying Valerian society and had made a disturbing discovery. The Empire's citizens were not happy. They followed orders not out of loyalty but out of fear. They supported the military not because they believed in conquest, but because they thought it kept them safe. So Hyojin decided to educate them. Her broadcasts reached every Valerian world simultaneously. Not propaganda, but simple lessons about their own history and society. She showed them statistics about their economy, their healthcare, their education system. She compared their quality of life to other species in the galaxy. The results were shocking to most Valerians. Despite their military power, their people lived shorter lives than humans. Despite their vast empire, their economy was weaker than many independent worlds. Despite their advanced technology, their children received less education than species the empire considered primitive. "How is this possible?" asked a Valerian citizen during one of Hyojin's broadcast question periods. "Because," Hyojin explained patiently, "your government spends most of its resources on military expansion instead of improving life for its own people. You could have the best schools, the best hospitals, the best technology in the galaxy, but instead you have the biggest army. But without the army we would not be safe." "Safe from what? Name one species that has ever attacked Valerian space without being attacked first." The citizen could not answer. No one could. For over 200 years the Empire had been the aggressor in every conflict. These broadcasts had an effect that surprised everyone, including the humans. Valerian citizens did not rebel against their government. Instead, they began to ignore it. When the government ordered more taxes to fund the military, people paid less. When recruiters tried to enlist young Valerians for the army, fewer volunteered. When officials demanded obedience, citizens asked polite questions about why. Commander Tai Jin saw this happening firsthand when he returned to his home world of Valeria Prime. His own family, proud military supporters for generations, had changed. "Why do we need to fight these humans?" His sister asked him over dinner. "What have they done to us? They attacked our colonies. They threaten our way of life, did they?" I watched the recordings. Luna Station shot first, but only after we told them to surrender or die. And their way of life seems better than ours. Their people are healthier, happier, more educated. Taejin was shocked. "You would rather live under human rule?" "I would rather live under no one's rule. Why do we need rulers at all? Why cannot each world govern itself and cooperate with others when needed?" These conversations were happening across the Empire. Not arguments or debates, but simple questions that made people think. The humans had weaponized curiosity. Meanwhile, Admiral Hyun was implementing what humans called victory through obsolescence. Instead of destroying Valerian supply lines, he made them irrelevant. The Empire's economy depended on taking resources from colony worlds and shipping them to Valerian space. But the humans taught colonies how to be self-sufficient. They showed them how to grow more food, how to build better machines, how to create everything they needed locally. Within months, the Empire's trade networks began to collapse. Not through sabotage, but through lack of interest. Why should a world ship its resources across the galaxy when it could use them to improve life for its own people? "Sir," reported Admiral Wu Jin's economic advisor, "tribute income has dropped by 60% in the past 3 months. Many worlds are not refusing to pay. They simply have nothing surplus to send." "How is that possible?" "These worlds have been profitable for decades because they used to export raw materials and import finished goods. Now they process the materials themselves and keep the profits. Their people live better, but they have less to give us." Wu Jin understood the trap. If the Empire tried to force colonies to return to the old system, they would face revolts. If they allowed the new system to continue, the Empire would go bankrupt. But the humans were not finished. On dozens of worlds, human coordinators like Ji-Hoon were helping former enemies work together. Species that had been at war for centuries were discovering they had more in common than they thought. "Your dispute with the Zephyrians is over mining rights to the Kepler system," Ji-Hoon explained to a delegation of Alterian leaders. "But both your species need those minerals. Why fight over them when you could share them?" "Because they are our enemies," an Alterian replied. "Are they? Or are they just competitors for the same resources? What if there was enough for everyone?" "Impossible. The system has limited resources. In the system, yes, but not in the galaxy. Humans have found 17 systems with similar mineral deposits, all uninhabited, all available for peaceful development. This was the human approach to every conflict. Expand the possibilities until fighting became unnecessary. The Alterians and Zephyrians signed a peace treaty 3 weeks later. Not because the humans forced them to, but because war no longer made sense when cooperation offered better results. Story after story like this spread across the galaxy. Ancient enemies becoming allies, resource conflicts becoming joint development projects, military buildups becoming scientific research partnerships. Commander Su Jin, now serving as a liaison between human and Valerian forces, watched this transformation with amazement and fear. "They are making war obsolete," she told Tai Jin during a secure communication. "Not by conquering us, but by making conquest pointless." "What do you mean?" "Think about it, sir. Why does the Empire exist? To protect Valerian worlds from threats and to provide resources for Valerian people. But the humans have shown our colonies how to protect themselves and become prosperous without our help. If colonies do not need protection and have their own resources, why do they need the Empire?" Taejin had no answer. For the first time in his life, he was questioning everything he had been taught about the Empire's purpose and value. And he was not alone. Across Valerian space, military officers, government officials, and ordinary citizens were asking the same questions. The Empire still had its fleets and armies. But armies were useless when no one wanted to fight, and fleets were meaningless when there was nowhere important to go. The humans had done something no military force had ever accomplished. They had not defeated the Valerian Empire. They had made it irrelevant. And the most terrifying part for Valerian leaders was that this change felt inevitable. Like watching a star collapse into a black hole, they could see what was happening but were powerless to stop it. The old order was ending. Something new was beginning, and the humans were shaping what that something would become.